Another way that I fill my pipeline is through speaking.
Gotta love speaking.
I love speaking. And for those of you all who are just like, okay, I'm turning this off now because I'm never going to go speak, stay with me for a moment because I have some ideas for you that probably can be, I didn't think about that before. Welcome to the Sold Out Sales Podcast, the podcast that will equip both the seasoned sales professional and the more reluctant seller with mindset shifts and strategies needed to succeed in a competitive marketplace. Hey everyone, it's time for the Sold Out Sales Podcast, and today I really want to address the issue of people wanting to be in business, but really treating it like a hobby. So it's like a wantrepreneur to an entrepreneur, really understanding what it means to step into the role of a CEO. And because sales is my jam, I want to talk to you about it from this sales perspective. What I find is that people, often people come to me on social media or even at networking events and kind of talk to me about the problems that they're having. And in their mind, it's a really big problem because they're not finding the right clients. But in my mind, I'm thinking, how much time are you really dedicating to your sales process? How much time are you dedicating to doing outbound, whether it's sales calls, whether it's email marketing, whether it's on social media? However you really find your ideal clients, are you seriously creating time and making it a non-negotiable part of your day to make sure that you are doing this consistently? And the average answer is no. People are not really putting in the time required that's really necessary to do business development. That means to go out to find their ideal clients. So we're just going to talk today. I encourage you to drop questions in the comments. If you'd like for me to answer them, I'd love to actually answer those questions for you as well. But today I'm just going to rock and roll. I do have my producer in the house, so you're going to hear and see Taylor Wellman. Love her so much, and she's going to be kind of maybe deepening some of these questions so we can have a real robust conversation. So the first challenge that I see, or the first problem is, each sales interaction might feel inconsistent or random. So in other words, I find that people will say to me, I don't know how to make this a repeatable process, right? I get a sale, but then I don't know how to make it happen like every day or every week or every month. And I think that there are some things that we can put in place to make sure that you have a repeatable process. Because if it's more of a hobby and you're doing it periodically, then guess what kind of results you're going to get? Periodic results. You're not going to get consistent results. So the solution is really creating what I call a repeatable sales pipeline, a pipeline that stays full. And that means you always have to be adding names into that pipeline, adding people into that pipeline so that, at some point when things are a little bit slower, you're not having to go out and find new people to interact with. You actually have people in your pipeline already. And so that's what I think. And you have the tools, like it's great CRM, in order to monitor that.
I'm about to say, you make it sound so easy.
I know, right?
It's just, you just keep putting people in a pipeline. That's so easy. But what kind of tools do you use to make that happen?
So not only do I use a great CRM, I use High Level because it just is what works for me. And it helps me to help my clients. Mm-hmm. So I do use it for me, but I use it more so because I can help clients with it. But the part that's not as easy is going and finding the people. And so it's like, what are you doing to identify, to attract, and then to convert those people? Even if they're not in the conversion place yet, but how are you identifying them? For me, I love networking. Networking is my jam, but networking in a very intentional way. Not just going to every event that pops up, not just going to any event, meaning you're going to events where your ideal people are going to be hanging out. I was sharing with Taylor earlier how there are probably 3-4 organizations that I'm committed to for 2025. And these are the organizations that I've chosen because they are where my ideal clients always are. Not only are they hanging out in that same space with me, but they are ready to invest. They're at a place in their business where they're ready to shift from being a wantrepreneur, right? Not having a consistent sales process to actually creating a sales process, and they're wanting help with that. And they have a mindset for forward momentum. These are not people who are kind of kicking tires and having old conversations. They're innovating. They're really, on a forward momentum. And so finding out where you should be hanging out is probably one of the best things.
But how do you know who's in those rooms? How did you find out which organizations to consider?
So number one, research. Really research. And I know that sounds weird because you're like, I'm just going to the XYZ event. Who cares, right? No. If I can find online something about that organization, if I can find out what types of people generally come, I'm going to look for that. If it's not public knowledge, if it's not on their website, then I'm going to talk to people who've been. So I'm going to ask around. If I see people on a picture on their website, I'll find that person, if you will, or find people that I know. Hey, what made you go to that event? What was your experience? What types of people are going to be there? And then I'm going to ask them, hey, I'm going to come for the first time. Could you possibly maybe make some introductions for me? Because I don't know anybody who's going to be there. So I make it very intentional. The other thing might be is to find out if there are opportunities to volunteer, because that's a great way to get to know like the back end and to know what types of people they attract. So if they need somebody to help with their registration table, or they need someone to help with setting up tables or something, people won't turn away help most times. So asking to help gets you kind of like the back end, the nitty gritty to really understand a little bit more about the organization as well. But you have to do some research, and sometimes you just have to show up. Occasionally, you're just going to have to, take a chance and see, but then go with your, what is your criteria? What are you looking for? Are you looking for a specific type of person, people who have specific roles in their organization in those rooms, right? So there needs to be a little more effort, I think, or a little more intentionality behind the way that we're networking so that it really can work for us.
Now, would you consider a referrals group like a networking group? Would you consider, the ones that you have to go to every single week and give out referrals? What's your thoughts on those types of groups comparative to larger networking groups?
Yeah, I was a member of one of those groups for about 10 years. Mm-hmm. So, and it worked well for me. I was back in Texas at that time. I'm in Arizona now. And so it worked well for me because it had the right blend, of people. So
it matters who's in the room.
It matters who's in the room because I've heard, so I was just talking with one of my clients and she was saying, hey, I've decided to walk away from XYZ group and I'm going to this new group because they're just it doesn't work for me anymore. So be open to understanding, again, what's the criteria you're looking for? What types of people do you need to have in those rooms? And what are you trying to get, what do you ultimately want to get from that group? So yeah, leads groups can work. They absolutely can work, but only if you have the right people in the room. I've connected with the group that it's different, meaning the investment is a lot higher. And that was intentional. It wasn't not easy, but it was intentional because I knew the level of individuals that I really wanted to connect with, and the types of, just interactions I was looking for and the types of connections that they have. And so it was a very intentional investment into my business so that I could be in those rooms. So I'd also say you want to kind of look at that. If you're going to rooms with people that are getting into the room free every month, nothing wrong with that, but just recognize you're probably going to also get people who are not willing to invest.
Right. You got to think about the ROI in any situation with business of, if you spend X to join the group, well, what are you going to get in return?
Exactly.
And so even though it might seem like a price point that might be a little high, well, what's the return?
Yeah. If they're willing to invest in themselves, then they're probably willing to invest in themselves through your service that you offer. And so keeping that in mind. Another way that I fill my pipeline is through speaking.
Gotta love speaking.
I love speaking. And for those of you all who are just like, okay, I'm turning this off now because I'm never going to go speak, stay with me for a moment because I have some ideas for you that probably can be, I didn't think about that before. So for me, speaking on a stage, favorite thing. It's only second to being here with you guys, of course. But I love speaking because, number one, I have a captive audience. And this is the thing. Believe it or not, I would prefer a breakout space, a breakout room to a keynote. Let me tell you why. Not that I won't take a keynote, don't get me wrong. But the reason I love a breakout room is because people have chosen you.
Yeah.
They're in that room because they had to choose from, I want to learn about investing, I want to learn about, legal thing, or I want to learn about sales. They've chosen me, which means they come in that room like this, like I'm ready for you. They're there for a reason, right? And they're more likely to be receptive if I am making an offer of any sort, whether it's just to have a phone call or whether it's to actually sell something. They're open to it. I find that I get my biggest conversion when I speak in a breakout space.
Yeah, it makes sense because you've already actually built that trust and you are the subject matter expert.
Oh, for certain.
And with a keynote, you actually have to prove your worth almost. You have to prove I
Yeah.
deserve to be on this stage.
Yeah.
But yeah, with breakouts and when people choose to attend a course, like I personally love speaking as well because of that exact reason that people are coming in, notes ready. And
they're ready to go. Yeah, for sure. And it's funny because I also speak with companies and I find the difference between me doing a class for entrepreneurs who've paid to be in the room to hear from me compared to employees who've been told to come and get sales training.
Yes.
Totally different environment, right? And I love them both, but it's just a very different interest level. People are kind of in a place where they're like hungry for the information opposed to like, I'm here because they put this person on the stage and I have to sit through this before I talk to hear my next person or my company paid for me to be here. So it's just a different thing. But either way, speaking is a great way to find your ideal clients. And even if you're not selling anything from the stage, I don't mind that at all because I just want to get their attention, if you will, help them to see that I have the solution that they're probably looking for. And then I invite them to a call to have a conversation with me.
And even so, you could just invite them to connect with you on social and just continue the conversation. And then when people follow you on social media, they're going to watch more of your stuff, learn more about how you work. And, I know I've had an episode previously where it talked about you need, more than 7+ touch points to get your brand out there.
Easily.
So
yeah. I always laugh when people say, well, I don't want to like bother my people or send them too many emails. I encourage you to do this. The next time you're watching a movie on regular TV, count how many times you see the same commercial.
Oh my gosh.
Right? So like McDonald's, for instance, is like you watch and see. If you're watching a 2-hour movie and see how many times you're going to see the same exact commercial, that's very intentional because they know the first time you're like, you're going to wash your hands, you're not paying attention. The second time you're talking to someone else. But at some point you're going to go, I want some French fries. And that's very intentional. And with us, especially as business owners, we need to start thinking. We may not do everything like the big guys do, right? We might do things differently because our audience is different, you may have a bigger audience, but nevertheless, it's like that intentional consistency, putting yourself in front of people over and over again. Someone asked me during my session yesterday, should I be posting more than 3 times a week? I was like, girl, if you post 3 times a week for the average person, they're not going to see it. The algorithm just isn't going to show you to every person. So you're thinking, oh my God, I'm flooding these people. They're getting sick of me.
Every algorithm says daily posting.
Yeah.
Everyone.
They're probably not seeing it if you're posting 3 times a week. And if you're doing that, I'm not telling you, that might work for you, but I'm just saying the average person is not getting seen if they're only posting that short.
And I think the bigger question too is what are you posting? If you're posting value, why would you ever feel bad about sharing more value with people?
Exactly, for sure. And that they're asking for it. So interestingly, I pay attention to obviously comments for obvious reasons, but even when people are just liking or loving or applauding, if you're on on LinkedIn, you'll see there's a variety of different things. I look at those things and then I want to connect with those people. And ask that, say to them, God, thank you so much for just engaging with my content. It takes a lot for us to put this out. And it, sometimes it goes unseen. So it always makes me very happy when I see someone that engages with it. What was it about it that caught your attention?
Yeah. And that's actually a really good strategy to have that additional conversation. Don't just let the post and the comment be the comment.
Exactly.
Try to engage that dialogue.
Right. The whole thing is to get people to talk back, right? To get people to engage with you in some way, shape, or form.
You mean be social on social media?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think we miss so many opportunities when we kind of post and run or just kind of think, I put it out there, it's okay. But man, filling this pipeline for me, some of this is, of course, all the things I've already talked about, but just engaging with the people who are already kind of raising their hand, even if they're just going like this, going, wow, I like that. That was great. Asking them, what was it that caught your attention? How can I, give you more of that? What are you really looking for? And many times they're like, hey, can we just jump on a call?
Right.
And then, before you know it, you have a new client. That's happened on more than, several occasions. So that is one of the easy ways to begin to build that pipeline. But then when you build it, every time conversion is great, right? You want to convert clients, but every time you convert a client from that pipeline, guess what you now need to do? Fill that space. You got to fill that space so that you have a robust pipeline that's constantly feeding your business. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself at rock bottom, starting all over again every few months, trying to figure out, oh my God, I got to go find people to talk to. You don't ever want to put yourself in that position. So lack of that structured sales process, lack of having that repeatable pipeline is one of the biggest problems. Have you ever gone to a networking event or a conference and found that although you made great connections and you walked away with a stack full of business cards, you still didn't have a real plan for how to get a good return on your investment of both time and money? Well, let me tell you, having a networking and sales planner is a way for you to be more intentional about the way that you network.
Hey, I'm Susan Gladstein. I'm a functional nutrition and metabolism specialist, and I got connected with Tish because she is a rock star at systems and sales. And so I downloaded the planner to help get my brain organized as I went through a rebrand and launched a new course. And it's really helped me sort of get things out of my head and onto paper so that I can actually do follow-ups and not just rely on my brain. So far it's rocking my world and making my business systems that were non-existent actually have some sort of structure. So I love it. It's amazing. And I'm so grateful that our paths have crossed.
I've been working with sales professionals for almost 15 years. And one of the things that I find is that when they don't have a plan, they do nothing. They sit at their desk and wonder what to do. Well, with this networking and sales planner, you have profit producing activities for every single day of the week. It tells you where to go, what to say, even gives you prompts as to how to interact with people that you don't know. If you're an introvert and you feel like this isn't for you, I have already thought of you because I understand exactly how introverts think. So this gives you the tools enabling you to be armed with words, with language, so that you can make your networking more profitable.
Hey everyone, Rachel Neighbors here from solo401k.com. And I wanted to take a moment to talk about how awesome this sales networking planner is that Tish put out. So as you can see, I have it on my Remarkable. That's my sort of e-ink planner. And this sales planner has been so helpful for me. So I'm an old school pay-per-click marketer. I do Google ads, Facebook ads, and I know how to turn advertising into profit. But I didn't know how to turn network sales into profit. And when I met Tish, this woman literally wrote the book on networking called, Networking is Not a One Night Stand. And she's put that experience and that energy and those valuable tips into this networking sales planner. And I just think that it can be so powerful for you in your business. I know it's been really helpful for me and mine. One thing that Tish told me is, Rachel, when you meet someone, put them into your planner and then follow up with them like they're a lead that you've generated on Google Ads or that you followed up with or that you've generated on Facebook. And that has been so helpful and transformative in my business. So thank you, Tish, for this awesome planner.
Maybe you don't even like networking. You say things like, networking doesn't work. Well, let me tell you, when you have a plan in place, you have some intention, and you have the tools to be able to make it work, you will see a different result. My new networking and sales planner is a game changer. It's the difference between you going to an event, wandering around and walking away without any purpose and without any new money, and walking into an event with a plan, with a purpose, and being able to convert new clients into your business. No one wants to feel inauthentic and pushy or even salesy when following up. So frequently we just don't do it at all. Well, the profitable follow-up formula, which is in the back of your networking and sales planner, will give you the tools and the language and the frequency with which you should be following up so that it feels very authentic. It feels genuine and natural both to you and to the people that you're reaching out to. Go to tishtimes.com/planner to get your digital or physical version of your planner.
Hi, my name is Cheryl James from CL James Consulting, and I just want to tell you a little bit about how awesome this networking sales planner is. I started intentionally networking at the beginning of this year, and I have been using my planner on a regular basis, not only to get inspiration, but to track the people I want to meet and the people I have met, and to make sure that I follow up with them from week to week. So if you are looking to network intentionally and hold yourself accountable, this planner is a must-have.
And once you get your planner, you'll also receive a video series that's going to teach you how to maximize your networking and how to use this planner to get the best result and best return on your investment of both time and money. If you are ready to stop wasting time with networking and turn your networking into a sales machine, then go to tishtimes.com/planner and grab your networking and sales planner. The next one is wasting time on unqualified leads. That is a rookie mistake, because what we find is that especially people who are newer in business, but even some of us who've been in business for many years, we do get really excited about those people who respond to us on social or whatever, but because we've not created our client avatar, our ideal client profile, and we're just excited that someone's talked back to us, we find ourselves talking or spending a lot of time talking to unqualified leads. I have a client right now who's preparing for a pretty large event, and we're talking through, she's doing a quiz, in order to attract new leads. And we were talking it all through, and we're talking about doing some live debriefs while we're there at the event. And I had to stop and say, okay, how are we going to kind of make sure that we're only talking to qualified leads instead of every person who takes the quiz? Because many of us have an opt-in or another way to draw people in, but because there's no wall, if you will, there's nothing that kind of causes people to disqualify themselves. We're talking to everyone who engages with us. And the problem with that is you're wasting a lot of time on people that probably just aren't ready for you yet.
Well, would you recommend having like a smaller, like entry level opportunity?
You can have it. Yes, you can have an entry level opportunity. But the thing is, if your opt-in is bringing in everyone through the gates, then you have to put something in place to kind of parse them out to that different opportunity that they're probably best prepared for, or bringing you into having a sales call with you, because you don't want to have a sales call with every person that you interact with. One of the ways that we've done is our sales assessment. And I love the sales assessment because, number one, I get to talk to some amazing people. I get to hear what their biggest challenges are and right on the spot say, hey, try this. Hey, this is what I'd recommend. And if they are interested and a good fit, then I can bring them in. But the question that causes people to qualify or disqualify themselves, believe it or not, is the income question.
Well, how much income you make or how much income you want to make?
It's actually how much sales revenue are you making right now?
Got it.
So what was your revenue for 2024, for instance? And I know that may sound like, oh, you're asking questions about money. But what happens is the people who fill it out are motivated. They're very interested for certain, because no one's going to fill that out if they're just like, oh, I just wanted to find out what she was talking about, right? Number one. Number two, if they're at a certain point in their income, that tells me that, wow, this is a better offer for them opposed to this one. And I can
that's where you decide the entry level, the medium, or are you ready for the big one? Okay.
Absolutely. And the people that I know I need to have a face-to-face or a conversation with, that's what's going to cause them to be drawn into that part of the funnel. And some of that is automated, and some of it we just look at and say, hey, this is someone, I know that they ended up here, but I still want to have a conversation with them. But the automation of it all helps you to be able to not have your entire day on, qualification calls, only to find out, you've had 42 calls and only 2 of those people were actually qualified.
Right.
Yeah. So, as we're getting started in business, some of these things feel like, wow, that's a lot to do. But believe it or not, those are the easy things. Putting those automations in place, especially if you have a CRM that helps you to do it. And it enables you to, again, make sure that you're focusing on the building of the business and making sure that you're actually building something that can be successful, that can feed your soul, feed your wallet, feed your family, all of those things. But I think that the Wannaprenuer doesn't consider those types of things. And it's just kind of like, if it's a hobby, these are not the things we're thinking about.
But it does feel like almost a full-time job doing sales, the follow-ups, creating these automations. What do? Do you, can they work with you to get automations set up and workflows? Or?
Absolutely. I mean, those are definitely things that we do. And on some level, and this is probably, the biggest thing, okay, is this going to be my full-time thing where I give my business as much respect and dedication and honor that I gave to my corporate job, to my full-time job that I work for someone else? That's the first decision. But if in fact you're serious about like stepping into this for real and making this, a legacy building type of organization, right? Then you're going to want to dedicate on minimum. I say 90 minutes a day. You might want to put that into specific days. So maybe your Monday and your Friday, you're like, this is my business development time, but you're willing to dedicate that time to doing that work. And what our company does is, for some companies, for some very specific types of organizations, we do sales support for them. Meaning we can do all of those things for you and make the sales calls and help you set up all those automations. And put things in place so that someone on your team can actually take that over and actually run with it. For many others, we just teach them what that process is and show them how to do it for themselves so that it's easy for them. And my thing is, I want to make sales fun. I want to make you fall in love with sales, because for many entrepreneurs, it's like the part of their business that they despise. And it's the only part that will keep you in business.
Right. It's one of the more important parts to actually make money.
It absolutely is, right? But I mean, as a real business owner, as an entrepreneur, we have to be willing to dedicate the time to making sales. Sales is, we always say, if the cash register isn't ringing, you're not going to be in business for very long.
It's very true.
And so those are things that we absolutely have to do.
Start filing that 501c3.
I know, right? I know, because that's not what we're here for. Oh my goodness. I think the last thing that we'll have time to talk about today is ineffective closing techniques. And what I mean by that is, we're talking to everyone about what we do, but not in a way that really captures their attention and makes them say, I want more of what you're talking about. And you'll want to go back to episode 7. You'll go back and listen to episode 7 and hear what Kelsey Hunt talks about as it pertains to messaging. Because many times what we're saying, it might bring people to the table, but we want them to be in a place where they're motivated to actually make a change. Because the average person, even if they're saying, man, I want to grow my business, or I want to change this about my life, what is the thing that's going to take them from I want to I've done it? And they're pulling out their checkbook and backing up their words with their actual, with their investment. People aren't writing checks anymore. Okay,
I
credit
still
cards.
do, actually. I still write checks. I know.
So whatever we're doing, whatever medium of investment, the way we're investing, but they're really willing and able to make that shift. It happens when we're able to talk to them in a way that allows them to say, yeah, that's something I actually want to do. And I'm willing to do it, right now and with you. That's the thing. And so we focus on persuasive communication. We understand how to handle objections. We understand how to, in all honesty, almost perceive their objections before they say them and give them in front of that objection. Many people sometimes have these issues, and what we can do, you kind of perceive what they might be thinking. And that comes with having lots of sales conversations.
Yes, you learn the patterns. Is it the price? Is it the timeline? Is it the what? And even in our grade 8 template for creating an introduction script, we say, mention the objection.
Yeah.
What is the biggest
Don't hide
objection?
from it, right? And you know what? Look, that part right there, because especially if we're not comfortable with sales, we want to take that objection and hide it. And don't talk about that. Don't say that. No, put it in front of them. Let's talk about this already. You might be thinking that. Many people, when they come to work with me, this is, they might say they can't afford it or they're not ready to make the investment. And this is what I'd love for you to consider. Immediately we bring that objection to the forefront and have that conversation. Because if you're not having it in with them, they're having it without you.
Right. And then that way you can also help with qualifying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hey, we already talked about the objection.
Yes.
There's no reason to have one now, right?
Exactly. And so I think when we're kind of playing with our business and we're not really serious about it, or, we're not sure that we're ready to kind of step into this as a full-time entrepreneur, we're probably allowing those fears to hold us back and to keep us quiet. So I'm gonna share something with you all that might sound a little spiritual, but it is, because it is who I am. I remember hearing, and this was like in my heart, it wasn't like I heard an audible voice, but I remember hearing God say to me at one point many years ago, he said, "You can't afford to be silent." And I was like, what do you mean I can't afford to be silent? And that has, over the years, that has kind of unfolded in so many ways for me, both in my spiritual walk, but also in my business. Because I don't know about you, tell me if this is you. When I get insecure, when my confidence gets low, when I'm not sure what to do, my initial response is to quiet down and hide out. Mm-hmm. Right? And so I'm not speaking up. You won't see me on social all the time. You won't see me on stages. I'm kind of like, I'm in my head is what is
hibernating,
happening. Right? I'm hibernating, but in a way that's not productive. In a way that's I'm not like problem solving and strategizing. Right. I'm beating myself up, or I'm feeling like I'm not good enough. And so those moments for many of us, it's like we get extremely quiet and we feel as though we don't have the right thing to say. If I say it, they're definitely not gonna buy from me. That's the time we need to speak up the most. And I really highly recommend that you get comfortable having those uncomfortable conversations in every area of your life, but specifically as it pertains to sales. If you're looking to really build your business, to scale your business, if you're kind of in that place of this is kind of a side gig for me and I'm really trying to really step into this full time, then this is the opportunity for you to elevate your influence by raising your voice. And I don't mean talking louder, I mean talking with intention. And that means when you're having those sales conversations, being willing to say the more difficult things, being willing to say, okay, I understand that you might be thinking these things, or, let's talk about this before, you go away and think, because I don't want you wondering. I want you to have the answer in front of you, right?
Yeah, I've heard that you can measure your success or people's success by the number of uncomfortable conversations they've had.
Ooh, that's good. Well, that's a really good point, because there was a time, because I know I heard that message for me because of my history. Many of you all have heard me talk about my previous bad relationship. My first marriage was very abusive, which caused me to really shrink away and be very quiet. So now I learned it's like, I am not being quiet. I'm going to ask the hard questions. I'm going to say the difficult things, and I'm going to challenge my clients. I was talking with a client yesterday, and we were talking about her preparing for a conversation with a prospective client she was going to have. So sometimes I will prep my clients for their client conversations. And I just asked her, are you willing to kind of challenge her when she's self-sabotaging by saying, you know what, I'm not ready yet. And all the things that we know, if we don't help them, they're going to remain in the same space. This time next year, they're going to be in the same position, right? So sometimes that hard conversation is, hey, I understand why you say that, and I'm going to challenge you to really think about this differently, right? And so when we say closing techniques, I'm not just saying, hey, and I'd like for you to sign right here. I'm saying being able to have their best interest at heart, right? Really wanting the best for them, so much so to where I'm willing to make myself uncomfortable. I'm willing to make myself vulnerable so that you can see what's possible and hopefully say yes to yourself. Because at the end of the day, I want what's best for you. And I think that I'm the solution. I can help you to achieve that through the solution I provide.
And so in closing, if someone really wants that solution, how can they get in touch with you? Or what would be that first qualifying step you want people to take?
Yeah, the first thing for me is go to tishtimes.com and go to our resource page. There's a lot of different things that you can get there, but I really would love for you to take our sales assessment because that's the best way for me to gauge how I can help you. And although, and I even teach this, I don't want to coach on that call necessarily, but I always do because it's just who I am. And so you're going to walk away, even if you don't say, hey, I'd love to work with you, you're going to walk away with some type of a solution that you can put into practice immediately. So that's the first thing that I would say.
All right.
So, well, I hope that this has been helpful for you. And if you're ready to make that shift, again, I'm talking about the sales perspective. You can talk to many other professionals as it pertains to all of the other things engaged in taking your business from a want to be, right? A wantrepreneur to an entrepreneur. But from the sales perspective, these are the things that I think are really important for you. And we'll continue this conversation at a later date as well, because there's many other things that I'd love to share with you. But I hope you've got something that you can put in place. Please drop your comments. Let me know what questions you have. And I'd love to have a conversation with you as well. So I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to the Sold Out Sales Podcast. I would be so appreciative if you would show me and my amazing guests some love by leaving a review on your favorite podcasting platform. Also, go over to tishtimes.com/resource page and make sure you pick up your sales and networking handbook, especially for introverts. Also, I'd love to continue this conversation, so make sure you connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I'll see you back here next week.